So good morning. How's everybody doing? Or should I say dobro utro? And that's the extent of my Bulgarian, that's it. So I've been looking forward to saying this for a very long time. Welcome to Total Chaos. This is our first annual event. It's a worldwide event to celebrate the art, the science, and the tech behind computer graphics. You might be wondering why we called it Total Chaos. We actually did come up with some other names. We thought about Chaos Con. We thought Comic-Con might get a little mad at us. Plus, we didn't want you guys to have to wear costumes. We thought about Absolute Chaos. We thought maybe that sounded like it was sponsored by vodka. And then we thought about Complete and Utter Chaos, which is probably a little too accurate. So we're really excited to have you guys here for the next couple of days. We have some amazing presentations lined up for you. There are 3 different tracks. There's art, there's code, and there's craft. We also have some master classes here for those looking to take their skills to the next level. And we've got some speakers that are some of the most talented artists, designers, and developers from around the world. So we're very excited to have you guys here. So there's some unique sessions that you can find at Total Chaos. And I thought maybe I would just give you a quick sample of some of the things you might get, like intergalactic fur rendering a space raccoon. I mean, who doesn't want to see that? The Hitchhiker's Guide to Build Time Reduction. A history of 2 dudes in 3 dimensions. And then writing kernels and herding cats. But there is there's one artist that I'd like to talk about just for a second. His name is Andy Thomas, and he's here from Australia today. And he's the genius behind the artwork that you've been seeing all throughout the time for Total Chaos. And he's got a talk today about visualizing the sounds of nature. So Andy's actually traveled to the depths of different rainforests to record the sounds and the flora and fauna and put that to animation. He's also doing this for a very good cause. And so some of the proceeds that are generated by his artwork are donated to the World Wildlife Fund of Australia to help in their conservation efforts. And here's just a quick little sample of what you might see in Andy's talk. Let's give him a hand. Frankly, Andy, I'm a little scared about what's going on in your mind. Remember to download the app today, the Total Chaos app. You can get it on the Apple Store or the iTunes Store as well as the Google Play. And then be sure to tag us on social media with the hashtag TotalChaos18. It would be impossible to put on an event like this without the help of some very generous sponsors. So we want to thank our sponsors. We're really, really happy to have on board Google, HP, NVIDIA, Red Vertex, and a whole host of other folks. And then there's a lot of supporting organizations that we've been working with as well. So let's give them a big hand. I also want to tell you about a really interesting and unique rendering challenge that we're putting on at Total Chaos. So right outside in the foyer, you're going to find a setup with HP and NVIDIA, and they've got some render workstations that basically are going to give you 30 minutes with a predetermined scene to try to render the best thing possible. And we've got some great prizes that you can win. NVIDIA has kindly donated a few of their highest-end graphics cards. The top prize is a GV100, which is the fastest GPU on the planet right now with 32 gigs of memory. And I think there's also a P6000 and a P5000 as well. So you definitely want to check out the render challenge and see if you can walk away with some of those prizes. So that's it from me. I want to turn it over to our Chaos Group CEO, Peter Mitev. Let's give him a hand.
Good morning. How are you? I don't believe you. How are you? Yeah! А за българите добре дошли. So, let me give you a little bit of history in the background where we were 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I met Vlado, who is my business partner and our CTO. 20 years ago, in this city, in an area called Mladost, which in English means youth, we started our first product. We wanted to innovate, and we did a lot of research to innovate the way fire was simulated. And we produced our first product called Phoenix. Well, a few years later, that technology seemed to be one of the best-selling technologies in the world. So let me brag a little bit more. So, after solving a lot of the inefficiencies and a lot of the limitations of some of the products in those days, we came up with a new product called V-Ray. 15 years later, it became to be one of the best-selling products in computer graphics in the history of humankind. And this is all because of research and development that we do at Chaos Group. Back in those days, the computer graphics industry was really dominated by a company called Silicon Graphics, and we were really excited with what people could do back then, something that we couldn't afford. Thankfully, hardware developed really quickly, and home PCs started taking over the computer graphics world in those days. To be honest, I'm really thankful that we were born and 20 years old when we started, because before that we wouldn't be able to afford to do what we've done. 20 years ago, I guess some of you were starting your professional careers. By looking at the young part of the audience, probably some of you were talking to your moms about your breakfast. And back then, Vlado and I started the development of our new products. And to be honest, that was the start of a magical journey, a magical trip now, which was a really big part of our lives. We were driven by computer graphics, the excitement that we could build in with our relationships and our customers and friends and partners. And it was really great for us to be able to be part of this journey. That journey led us to great achievements. And because we are so passionate about the technology and the innovation, we were given an award by the Academy for Scientific and Technological Achievements because we changed the landscape of visual effects in feature films forever. Now, today, we are a company of over 300 people. We have over 5 offices in the world. And what really drives us, and the reason we exist, is to be really able to help the artists visualize their ideas in the best possible way. This is really the motivation, and this is really the driving force behind what we do. Back then, we were thinking about plugins, we were thinking about small things. During this trip, we realized that we're actually doing something much bigger. We're solving a lot bigger problems, because simulating fire is one thing, rendering the fire is a different thing. Having the right hardware and partnering with people who produce hardware and delivering the best results is another thing. Having the best infrastructure in the world to be able to handle all of the technology that's running is another part of our jobs. That's why we really needed to build a lot of strong relationships with a lot of our partners. So this is something much bigger, and our vision is much bigger than just talking about rendering or computer graphics in general. That being said, today, there's over 900 people visiting our event, and I want to really thank you and welcome you here in Sofia, where our magical trip started. So welcome. Today and tomorrow, we'll be talking a lot about technology and about the future. The reason we wanted to have you guys here is to be able to share what we're doing behind the curtains. For us, it's important that we start sharing this technology and the information that we have and the information that we build, because by helping you, we know that you will be helping us drive it forward. Because of the demands of our customers, because of the demands of people like you, we managed to deliver what we have done so far. And that's really great. It takes a lot of partnerships and it takes a lot of relationships to be able to get where we are, you and us. So together we are all here to talk about innovation, research, and everything we think will happen in the next 10 to 15 years. And thankfully, we have partners that believe, just like we do, that the industry is going to be completely changed in just a few years, and we hope that we all of us will be part of this change. And we're really excited. So, that being said, let me welcome our speakers in the keynote today. Let me welcome them on stage, and please give them a warm applause. So, without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about our first speaker today. He's a really motivated guy. He's someone who started and made a lot of changes in a huge company called IKEA. And today we have him here to give you an understanding of how they use technology to innovate their process of delivering their visual products. Some people might think, when they think about IKEA, those tables that you need to build yourself. At the same time, however, IKEA is one of the most innovative companies in the world in the way they adopt technology and the way they drive technology further. I'm really thankful that they were really demanding, because that made us build even better tools than we had before. And that's really important. Something that you need to realize is that, are you all familiar with the IKEA catalog? This is yes, this is no. That's for the Bulgarians. Okay, so over 70% of that catalog is rendered. It's computer graphics. It doesn't exist. Sorry for the spoiler, but that's the way it is. Because this allows the IKEA designers to build their visual work before the actual furniture is being built. and that's really important. So let's welcome Martin on stage, Martin Enthed from IKEA, and he's going to talk about his vision on the future.
So, let's see, you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, that's my name. Short history, I'm a computer graphics geek since early 1990s, so I'm a kind of a computer graphics dinosaur, 27 years now. I'm sorry, I have to correct you a little bit. If you look at just the IKEA catalog, there are not that many images in that one that is made from CG, but there are things in there, so there it is. We can do it, of course, these kind of images. Today we do about 15,000 of them every year, and about 25% of them are 3D. So we do a huge number of them. But we still have a studio, so we use that too. And just to show you some examples, these are straight-up renderings from V-Ray, and we use these. You do these kind of things a lot, especially kitchens. So if you look at the kitchen brochure, then it's a lot. Okay, so showing you some more images. If you want to see more of this, I have a talk here at 1 after lunch, and then we have more time to look into what we've been doing. But in short, we started back in 2005, 2006. We made our first room image in the catalog in 2009. We started building a huge library of 3D models during a 3-year time. After that, we have been able to do a lot of things, but we started also play with augmented reality. We have been also working a lot with film and green screening. I know the rest of the industry has been doing it a lot, but we just started there because we are doing a lot of still images. And we did a lot of VR things, so we had a VR app back in 2016. I will talk about that also today and show you some crazy people playing in it. It's quite fun. And then we launched an AR app now, just recently. So this is what we've done the last 12 years. But I thought when they asked me to do this keynote as, okay, this I will talk about this afternoon. I would like to talk about the next 12 years. The next 15 years, if you say so. So if you talk about the future, and if you talk about things that are a little bit, if you want to explain things at IKEA, you turn to this guy. If you remember him or seen him before. So I got over to this team and asked them if they could help me, and they did. So we will have this guy helping us talking about the future. So home computers. Started in the 90s, really, and 2000s, and the things we've been using a lot today to do the renderings we are talking about. 2D interfaces, we have to explain everything. It's not really 3D, it's 2D through a window, 3D through a window. Then the last 10 years, we've had the mobile device revolution. I guess all of you have a mobile phone in your pocket, or you're taking an image of me right now, or something. But it's still a two-dimensional interface. We take an image, it becomes flat, we write text on it, we might talk to it, but it's not three-dimensional. So what will happen the next 15 years? At least my opinion, and you see the early parts of it, is that we will go into a spatially aware device revolution. That means that we will go in from 2D to 3D the next 15 years. Of course, IKEA won't. It's you guys and the device people will build this. But if you have 3D, then you don't have to convert what you see in this world over to 2D and make it understand and back again. Then these devices that comes in the future will know the world around you. So if you have this, and the early parts, if you're going to make something, connect to something we have today, talk about the VR headsets that I guess most of you have tried, or the HoloLens kind of mixed reality kind of things. I'm talking about glasses like the one I'm having on me. If you think about these things 15 years from now, what do we need to add content to the world then? Yeah, we need products or objects. So we need to have them in 3D. So anyone in here doing 3D modeling? Okay, you have work. Because we have to have everything in 3D, otherwise it won't work. Then we have to understand the space you're standing in. If it's virtual reality, you have to build it. If you're in mixed reality, you have to understand it. Understanding mixed reality is power consumption, compute intensive. So either you have to have a huge cloud solution, or you have to do a lot of things to try to understand where it's going. These are the basics. Then you have to add sound. Anyone here working with sound? And sound rendering, sound simulation? Good, we will need it. As good sound simulation as we today have rendering. It's the same problem, but you have to consider time. That's hard. So sound, we need to do that. Then we need to understand how to get another human in there, because we don't want to be alone. So you need to track the eyes, you need to track how the facial expressions are moving and changing. Otherwise, it won't feel like you're there. So these are the basics. Then you have to add the possibility to touch things, and this will probably be very hard and in the future. But if we can, then we could actually be in a virtual environment or a mixed reality environment and feel that it's equivalent to this world. And then we might just call it reality. Would be good. So, stepping back, what do we need to do today? Yeah, we need to create 3D models. We do that. We have been doing that for a very long time, but we need to do them in very high detail. We need to go even deeper than we do today, otherwise they won't look realistic. We are trying, and if you come to the talk this afternoon, I will show what you are doing now. And then, in the best of worlds, we would have one physical asset that we will share with any renderer to any device. There are movements in this direction, but I don't see it happen fast enough. And this is what I think we need to do today to make the other things work. If we can't figure this out, the other things won't happen. So, ending off, just to make it clear, IKEA has a vision to create a better everyday life for the many people, and we do that by selling well-designed furniture to prices that the many people can afford. We are not developing technology. This is you guys doing that, not us. You are creating the experiences, you are creating the devices, some other people following me here will create the GPU things and everything. So what I'm really saying is that you guys are very much needed in the future where everything goes 3D, and I hope you think this is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So make sure to check out Martin's session. He's going to talk in a lot more details of what they do and what they have achieved at IKEA. Okay. Next, we're going to invite on stage the guy I met 20 years ago, the guy who is responsible for building one of the most widely used rendering engines in the world, the guy who was the driving force of the teams who was delivered the technological and scientific award by the Academy last year. And I really want to proudly present Vlado, who changed the computer graphics industry forever.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming here at this ungodly hour. If a developer comes to work in the morning, that something is terribly wrong. But hopefully nothing is wrong today. I'm super excited to be at this event here, and I'm very excited that we are doing Total Chaos in Bulgaria and in Sofia. you know that I've been at events all over the world, and it's always been a dream for me to be able to do this sort of thing here, because computer graphics is something that I really like. It's a passion for me since I was a kid, and being able to do something that I like at the place that I live is super exciting, and being able to share my experiences and my vision for the future with you, it's great. For us, and because I'm a practical person, the very immediate future contains the next version of V-Ray, which is just called V-Ray Next. For us, it's been a chance to make V-Ray more modern, both in terms of the code and in terms of the hardware that we can utilize. We've also spent time to work on our GPU render. Our GPU guys rewrote it from scratch to make it nearly twice as fast, which is a real feat. We've also tried to make V-Ray easier to use and faster to render, obviously. Goal number one, nobody wants to wait for renders. And there are a couple of new features that we also managed to sneak in. And for us, this first official release of V-Ray Next is just the first step of many. Similar to what we did with V-Ray 3, we're right now starting to do stuff that will continue throughout the whole V-Ray Next cycle. And here is let's see this. This super cool video was done with the beta versions of V-Ray Next by one of our customers, the Barty Studio. And they have suffered through a lot of beta builds. Every single one of these shots that you see, these animations, had something wrong in it originally, things that we had to fix. So Tomasz is a very passionate guy, so whenever he gets a new build with a new feature, he immediately goes off to test it, and it usually breaks. So we've had to fix a lot of stuff, but as you can see, the result is great, and this is all done on V-Ray GPU. What we've tried to make with this release is make V-Ray smarter in any way that we can think of. We've tried to make sure that we remove as much manual work as possible from the usual workflow of artists by getting V-Ray to learn about the particular scene that is being rendered, where the light is coming from, which parts of the scene are affected by it, so that we can give you faster renders with shorter setup times. We've also tried to take out of the equation the tedious process of setting up your camera exposure right and the white balance. For me, it's just one of the most, I really just want to get a nice image out. I want to minimize any tweaking that I have to do to get there. And we've tried to give users this experience. Also, in this release, we integrated NVIDIA's AI denoiser, which is a super cool feature that we did a little bit. It was not really planned. obviously, we knew about the NVIDIA denoiser since GTC last year. We just did not expect that it was going to be available for us to use. But when we saw the results, they were really, really promising. So we added it as soon as possible to VRay Next. And it works really well, especially during the design phase when you need to be able to see what the final image is going to look like, and you want to get something as quickly as possible. Works very well. We've done a lot of work on this release, even though we did not have a whole lot of time since VRay 3.6, which we released last year. But still, we managed to complete some quite extensive R&D development arcs. And I will mention some of that in my talk right after the keynote. We've done major code optimizations basically throughout the entire VRay code base. And to me, it's really surprising that the whole thing still continues to work fine after everything that we've done to it. But I guess that means we did the initial architecture in the right way. For me, also, it was important to get everybody involved in this release. We have different teams at Chaos working on different products like VRay for 3ds Max, VRay for Maya. What we don't have is we don't have a VRay core team, like team that only works on the rendering portion of VRay. I set things up on purpose in this way so that we can get people from different teams to the different portions of the VRay core, and they can immediately test their results in a particular 3D application. So even though some of the features were developed by people in the 3ds Max team, all the other teams also benefit from that, and it goes the other way around. Many of the changes that we did in VRay Next were done by practically all the teams. We had 3 public beta versions. The roughly spaced around a month and a half. We found that for this purpose, 3 is a lucky number. So hopefully the next release is going to be the official one. A bunch of new features, which you probably already know, and you can read about them on our website. They are from the beta version. And lots more. VRay Next, available next week.
Thank you, Vlado. This is serious, by the way. So, talking about research and innovation, it involves a lot of teams from all different industries. In our case, we are a technology provider doing software development. And obviously, software requires a lot of prerequisites to run. People just don't think about them, but they're there. And they're really important. Because when we talk about software, it needs to run on hardware, and it needs the infrastructure to run as well. So when we talk about research and innovation, and we're going to talk a lot about it in the following couple of days, we also want to touch upon not just the rendering part. As I said, we have a much bigger vision to help people and artists visualize their ideas in the best possible way. We want to touch upon each and every part of the whole workflow and the whole process that involves software, hardware, infrastructure, and a lot of other intellectual property as well. So now I would like to invite one of the members of NVIDIA team who really helped us at Chaos Group build the next generation of support for GPUs and he's one of the guys who's really in charge of building some of the frameworks provided by NVIDIA so that we as a company and as a product developer can build better rendering tools so that you guys can deliver faster rendering results. So, Steven.
Thank you. It's really exciting to be here, and it's actually a really exciting time to be in computer graphics. And there's some pretty major revolutions happening in the industry, and there's a couple of them that I've been closely involved with, and that we've been working really closely with Chaos to help deliver. And it's a really exciting time where a lot of kind of long-standing challenges in computer graphics are starting to get solved. And I think the two main pieces of that are, number one, real-time ray tracing, where the worlds of offline rendering and the worlds of interactive rendering for games are becoming closer and closer together. So Microsoft's now added ray tracing to DirectX 12. And I'll show you a little bit more about what we've been doing with that. The other big trend is actually deep learning. And deep learning is something, if you've paid attention to the popular press, is being used to solve a lot of challenges that the planet faces, whether it's healthcare or transportation or safety and security. But it's somewhat of a pet topic of mine to understand, as it revolutionizes various industries, how is it going to revolutionize computer graphics? And so this is an example of two faces that were generated by a neural network completely from scratch. So we taught it a database of celebrities and asked it to generate a new celebrity, and with remarkable results. And so, I don't think anybody's willing to declare the end of the uncanny valley, but if there's any technology that gets us through to the other side, it's something like deep learning. So one of the things that whether you're designing a product or designing a movie or creating a game, you're trying to tell a story. You're trying to tell a story about a world that doesn't exist, or maybe, as we heard from IKEA, a world that doesn't exist quite yet, and that the techniques that get used are very common. People have moved more and more towards physically based materials, towards physically based rendering, and using a combination of ray tracing with other techniques. So to see what we could do with some of these technologies if we combine them together, we worked recently with ILM X Labs to create an experience that takes ray tracing running in real time with a high-powered game engine and all of the latest tricks and techniques that we could throw at it. We ran it on a single workstation, NVIDIA's DGX station, that contains 4 Volta GPUs. And so to tell you what you're about to see, this is prototype software on top of prototype software on top of prototype software, but it really shows what is possible in the near future. So it uses Microsoft's DirectX ray tracing extensions called DXR and 4 of NVIDIA's Volta GPUs.
What's the story with all the elevators lately? I heard Kylo Ren destroyed the one over in D sector. If you ask me, who's ever in charge of this place should be transferred to Hoth. What? What? You think she heard us? Yeah, I think she heard us. At least we blend in for once.
So on top of cool rendering, having a great story to boot, this is was rendered in real time, and it uses a handful of rays per pixel, a lot of magic and denoising in order to accomplish that. And it's it's really exciting to see the worlds of interactive real-time applications and the world of traditional photorealistic rendering come together as we make those real-time technologies available to what has traditionally been an offline world, and make the techniques like ray tracing that have been used in offline be applicable to interactive. I think both of those worlds will benefit and drive a lot more innovation over the next few years. And as I mentioned, these are coming from two different worlds, whether it's you care about real time at 30 to 60 frames per second, or you care about offline, where you're talking about minutes to hours to weekends per frame. You're really trying to drive rich visual experiences. And a lot of, if you see in a modern game, they're actually very detailed and rich and quite realistic. But in order to achieve the next leap in computer graphics fidelity and realism, we are exploring and delivering more and more ray tracing to that experience. And to make that possible, we've driven some advances in rendering to both drive performance and scalability. So the Volta SM on our most recent GPU contains a number of different architectural features that improve its performance at ray tracing. There's a new technology called NVLink that allows you to connect multiple GPUs together, a couple in a workstation or a 16 in a server like DGX2, and that allows you to scale more memory than you had ever had previously. So in the case of DGX2, it's 512 gigabytes of frame buffer memory that's accessible to all 16 of the GPUs in that system. At 350 pounds, it's not mobile. It's not a mobile form factor, but it's something that I'm sure you'll hear about shortly about how those technologies can be available in the cloud, actually quite inexpensively for those times when you really need that capacity. And then the third thing that we've been investing heavily is what's called NVIDIA RTX. NVIDIA RTX is the fundamental foundation of hardware and software and algorithms for BVH builds and for scheduling and compiling ray tracing workloads. And it's something we've been collaborating quite closely with Chaos Group to help ensure that it's applicable for what they're trying to do on the GPU. And the last thing I'll tell you about is where AI meets rendering. So Vlado mentioned this a minute ago, the NVIDIA AI denoiser, where what we've done is trained a neural network to understand photorealistically rendered images. And once that network has been trained, we can take a partially converged image that has a lot of noise in it, as you can see on the left, and turn that into the result that would have occurred if you had just let that render for a longer period of time. And that's the image on the right. And because it has an experience with photorealistically rendered images of about 3,000 different scenes, it knows the mapping from that noisy version to the final version. And furthermore, it can do that in roughly 1/100 of a second. And that's let's
All right, last
see
thing
a
we
reaction
try.
to that.
Let's try this optics denoiser. Holy f***. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, this is f***ing amazing. You gotta be shitting me. That is f***ing impressive. Damn.
So that was Kevin Margot, a longtime V-Ray user, seeing that in action for the first time, and we were there to see that reaction raw, completely unstaged, as you might have guessed. So you know, it's something where it can make a dramatic impact on the productivity and the performance of rendering workloads, and that's certainly not the last chapter of how deep learning is going to impact this industry. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of excitement in the industry about a lot of this technology, and it's something that we look forward to telling you more about over the next few months.
Okay, thank you, Steven. Exciting stuff. So, months and years of research and development and implementation end up at one point as a single button in a rendering engine. So just think about how many buttons you have in that rendering engine and the amount of research, innovation, and technology that's involved behind it. Okay, so as many of you know, last year, Chaos Group and Render Legion from the Czech Republic joined forces. We liked each other so much, and with the research we've done on both sides, that we thought that we should really start doing it together. A lot of people speculated that there will no longer be Render Legion. Today, I stand to prove them wrong, and to prove that after almost a year, we actually work together, research and innovate together, share technologies, and apply that research in the best possible way in both the rendering engines, V-Ray and Corona Render. And you guys benefit. So let me introduce Adam Hotový.
Hi, my name is Adam Hotový, and I'm one of the three founders of Render Legion, which is the creator of Corona Render. As you might aware by now, as Peter said, we are part of the Chaos Group family for some time, and I would like to take my time during this keynote to present you with some updates on Corona and Render Legion in general. So you might be wondering what we are working on right now, and I was thinking that the best would be just giving you some update about our kind of product lineup. So let's start with Corona Render for Cinema 4D. First good news is that the final version will be released this year, by the end of the year. We are currently working on the second beta version, which should be kind of feature complete. At the moment, we are just polishing some of the features and working on the stability of it. And we started also creating some supporting materials. We are pushing the C4D plugin quite a lot. We boosted the team. Right now, it consists of 4 developers and 1 support specialist who's creating a support portal and some tutorials. And there is one big feature which we want to introduce for the final build, which will be the ability to open and render V-Ray scenes inside the Corona without any kind of conversion. Also, some time ago we announced that we will be working on a new product which we called, at the moment, Scatter Pro. And Scatter Pro will be advanced render agnostic scatter tool, which will be designed with the same philosophy as we designed Corona Render. So it will be intuitive, powerful, and affordable. Scatter Pro will ship with full support for V-Ray and as well as Corona. And we will also offer SDK, so if any other third party is interested in supporting it, they will be able to do it. We also did a little test integration, and we created some kind of alpha version of Corona for ArchiCAD. So if there's someone who's interested in CAD or in ArchiCAD, please join me at the booth, and we can discuss if it's a good idea or not. Because right now we are kind of evaluating if it makes sense to have Corona in ArchiCAD or any other CAD. And I would like to give you an update for Corona Render for 3D Studio Max, because next version is called version 2, and it will be released soon, I hope. And there is a kind of sneak peek of the features which will be in there. This is actually quite interesting feature. And what we're showing here is opening a V-Ray scene, rendering in V-Ray, and later on, once it's rendered, we will just switch the render engine to Corona. And it doesn't do any kind of conversion. It renders everything what you've got in your V-Ray scene, the lights and materials. So this is good really for studios which are using both of the render engines, and they will, part of the studios working in Corona, part in V-Ray, so they don't have to decide what kind of render engine they will use. They can just simply open and switch to Corona and switch back to V-Ray. Good thing about that is you don't actually even need the V-Ray license to open V-Ray scenes in Corona. So right now, if you want to leverage the rich V-Ray ecosystem of all the models which are out there, you will just buy the V-Ray models and open it. And this is just the beginning. We support I think we support V-Ray materials and V-Ray lights, but there will be much more V-Ray specific materials later on. Another thing which you might have seen is that we support heterogeneous media. We've got almost full support for Phoenix FD. I think that only foam is right now. It's not supported, but it will be in the near future. We also updated our material library. There's more than additional 150 materials, which change them to real-world scale, so we can just drag and drop, and you don't think about any kind of units or anything. We will also have updated advanced camera effects, like bokeh effects and stuff like that. And you probably wonder what lays in the future for Corona and for its development. So we're doing lots of research, but I would kind of split it into two perspectives. One is engineering perspective, where we know what we will do, but we don't know when. And the second is the research perspective, when we want to do something and we don't know if we will be able to do that because nobody did that before. So in the future releases in version 3 and later, we will introduce cross-application compatibility, which means that you will be able to open 3D Studio Max scenes with all the Corona stuff and open it, for example, in C4D. And you can do it vice versa. You can open stuff from Cinema 4D with Corona in 3D Studio Max or in standalone. We will also start exploring GPU acceleration because we've seen how well it actually works for V-Ray. So we were thinking how we can actually plug that in and where lies the biggest benefit for the architecture of Corona. So we will have a GPU accelerated tone mapping, denoising, and lens effects. And yeah. And of course, last thing is that we will prepare and bring Corona to cloud. I think Boris will speak about it later on. So then we've got some interesting research topics which are already ongoing. First stuff is something what we call intelligent caustics. And what we want to achieve is that it's very easy to set up. You will just turn on caustics or turn off caustics. And algorithms determines where to shoot the photons, and it will be the fastest solution out there. And you can see some preliminary tests. It uses half of the photons and is way, way faster. And we are also working on a new light solver, which is based on the machine learning. So if you've got a really complex scene, it will go faster, up to 6 times. And it will be default light solver in Corona 3. Another research topic that you have is stylized rendering. So we want to introduce some kind of smart sketch rendering. And we started playing with machine learning and deep learning to understand what is happening in the scenes to further improve the efficiency. And in SIGGRAPH 2018, we will have an extended course where we want to raise awareness about the research topics for the community, because most of the research in CGI is happening just on the VFX and movies and not in, for example, in architectural visualization. And I've got just 3 more invitations, 3 more slides, which are, I would like to invite you to the talks of Ondřej. He will show you some behind the scenes of development of Corona Renderer. Jaroslav's presentation is really interesting because it will show you how rendering is actually kind of closely tied to 3D printing. And tomorrow we will have a course on Corona Academy, which is about the optimization tricks which you didn't know about in Corona. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, so as I said before, for us the challenge is to make the whole workflow run as smooth as possible, because even if you have one small piece of it running very well, not having everything run properly, you'll still have a lot of problems. That's why for us it's really important that we build relationships and partnerships with people who provide technology just like we do and are passionate about providing technologies as we do. We've done a lot of research and development in the last few years based on a lot of the developments happening in the cloud. So the cloud has become kind of the standard way to deliver different sorts of services. And we are following that trend. So for us, it's really important that we build great tools and great services on top of infrastructure. I'm sure a lot of you hate dealing with infrastructure. Closets of servers, co-locating machines, burning hard disks, RAM failures, and a lot of those problems and issues that all of us have gone through in the past. So, great guys from Google have developed an infrastructure to help us all build much more reliable services and be able to deliver a really great workflow where we use the compute power, the storage, and the bandwidth of this infrastructure without having to worry about how it works. So now I would like to invite Ben Faes from Google Cloud to talk a little bit about how Google Cloud has been developing in the last few years.
Thank you. Good morning, thank you. I'm going to start with a small personal story. I don't know how many of you recognize that image. If you don't, it's probably because you're too young. This was an important moment for me. I come more from the media world. I was managing YouTube when this happened. And this was an extremely important for Google in general. That was back in October 2012. And Boris Felix Baumgartner, jumped from 128,000 feet in the void. And two things happened that day. The first one is that broke the number of concurrent streams on the internet. 8 million people turned up at the same time to watch that event. It was super exciting for YouTube, the ability to create this world moment. And that set, I think, the ambition also for growth, the whole vision of what we wanted YouTube to become. The second thing was a bit of anxiety with our engineering team and infrastructure team. That moment, actually, those 8 minutes that the event lasted, accounted for roughly 20% of the internet bandwidth at the time. So that's a problem when you want really to grow. That's a problem. After a weird personal, professional conversion, I'm now managing our cloud business. And that's a lot of what cloud is about. We've invested an incredible amount of money to make all those magic moments able to happen. So I'm going to share you 3 things, really, of why I believe cloud is important for your business. The first one is how cloud allows more creativity, how it makes process more simple, and how it can also bring even some magic in the mix. I'll start with the most exciting one, the creativity. So I'm going to show you a small scissor reel of what has happened on Google Cloud over the last couple of years. Just small disclaimer, those images haven't necessarily been rendered on V-Ray, but it gives you a good example of what cloud has enabled. I think the message is really that behind every great movie, there's an incredible team of graphic artists, some incredible software to allow you to do this, and a mountain of computers. And we would like to take care of that mountain for you. This is one example for the Jungle Book, who won Best Visual Effects last year. Rendering that movie took 5.5 million core hours. That's 41 years of computing power. And this was all done in 2 months on Google Cloud. And if you look in the future, actually, we had this great conversation with Peter. This is not going to calm down. If you look at this machine, it's super exciting. But now what was 1 second of image in the past, 30 frames of image, now there's 16 cameras, and you need 100 frames per second, and we're moving to 8K. So basically, 1 second takes 500 times more storage and computing power. So I think that's the core of the relation and the partnership that we're building together with Chaos is to make sure that you don't have to worry about this background infrastructure. More than the infrastructure, broadcasting content is actually quite complex. This is actually a simplified chain of what needs to happen between capturing the content to actually broadcasting it. And we have products that address all of those part of the chain. But I think more than doing this, what we want to do is simplify it to the maximum. So basically, it's ingesting your VOD file, your live feeds, your ad breaks, and making it easy to stream to any kind of device in the back. This is what one partner has done, and it gives you a sense of how much improvement we can get through those tools. Capturing a live sport event used to cost about $100,000, and doing it this way, it's 25 times less expensive. Finally, there's a lot of things. Once all of your data and all of your images are in the cloud, you can also benefit from the powerful artificial intelligence tools that we've developed. So I'll give you just a few examples. The first one is this Cloud Video Intelligence API. It's basically an API that understands video, understands the context of each frame, and is able to detect, of course, what is the scene about, faces, brands, context, changes of shots. And what you do with this, you can do, for example, those automatic scissor reel. What about asking your computer, give me a 5-minute summary of all the news from yesterday? This is actually real. Some of you might use Google Photo, for example. And Google Photo will send you, those are your smiles of 2017, detecting in the videos the smiles, etc. I find this really fascinating. Okay. And finally, another way to use this is to detect where in those videos to insert ad breaks. This is used also natively in our DoubleClick product that monetizes all of the video on YouTube. And again, it's how can those machine learning technology make your life easier, make those ad breaks easier. The last example is our Translate API. How do we make all of those videos available for all of the world in any language automatically? And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. So now, just to talk a little bit more again about the reason we're all here. It's for us to gather artists, developers, engineers, share their knowledge, and help each other build a stronger and better computer graphics future. And one of the ways to show you how we can all team up and collaborate on what we do is our next presentation. Think about it. Everything we've discussed so far can be presented with one single button. One single button in your interface aggregates and combines all of the research and development we've talked about so far. And it's what we've been developing at Chaos Group for the last few years. And it is rendering in the cloud. By using rendering technology, infrastructure, and hardware that's available, our customers' demands end up being serviced much faster, higher quality, great performance in the simplest possible way through a single click in your interface. So what we're going to talk about is the next generation of services we at Chaos Group are going to deliver, and it's the cloud rendering. I'm very excited about this, and I'm hoping that all of you here will follow us in our excitement, because this will allow you to be so much more flexible, so much more creative, and produce better results in a shorter amount of time. So what we're going to show you is a sneak preview of what we call the V-Ray Cloud service. Again, years of development, years of research and innovation in a single button. And the V-Ray Cloud will become part of what we call the Chaos Cloud. Because Chaos Cloud is all about delivering all that you need as an artist in the cloud, regardless of what technology you use. Whether it's V-Ray, whether it's Corona, perhaps even if it's a different render, I'm okay with that, as long as you guys are happy. So let me welcome on stage one of our directors of development at Chaos Group, who's been in charge of the development of these services at Chaos Group, Boris Simandoff.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hey, good morning. How are you? Are you a bit sleepy? All right. Do you want to see something from the future? Just a little bit, right? Thank you so much, Peter, for introduction. I can remember it was not few years ago, it was more than few years ago. When I showed you a demo of V-Ray standalone, using a backdoor through a telnet communication, and that thing was streaming kind of a live images with the hardware that we had before in a browser, and you were in Japan, I believe, and you were able to, actually move that thing, and the renderer were somewhere on the other side of the world. And you said, okay, let's do it. Let's make a product. That's going to be really, really big in the future. And actually, I'm very excited that I can show you something that is not a prototype. It's actually a product that we're having it today. And I'll show you 3 demos. I hope you're going to like it. So let's talk about our cloud offering, or as we said, Chaos Cloud, V-Ray Cloud, Corona Cloud. It's about a lot of services actually running for you guys. And when we started to design that thing, we wanted to have only one thing. Can we make it the simplest possible? Because even today, you can assemble machines, you can buy GPU cards, you can use any kind of a cloud, public cloud service, deploy the software, run scripts, move the data, fail 1, 2, 3 times, 100 times because something is not right? You can do it, right? But it's time, it's hard. Our motto when we started to think about delivering that product to everyone in the world was simplicity. So simple, as Peter said, it was, can we make it with a single button? Just click there. Think about cloud rendering as just printing something on your printer. Usually just go there and press a button and it goes out of your printer, right? Can we make it? Actually, I think the answer is yes. And I'll show you some of the stuff in a bit. But it's not only important to be simple, right? The other, actually, 3 really important things are, of course, easy of use. That was the simplicity. Then we should be fast, right? You don't want to spend hours of waiting to deliver the images or hours to move your data to the cloud, because it takes time, gigabytes of data, even with the fastest network. And also, we've built a service that is so smart that it can predict some of your movements. It can predict what you're going to do in a while, or do you want to render that in that quality or settings and something like this, or let's cache all the assets and move the data as fast as possible. Once all the data is in the cloud, you actually, next renderers are like instant. You don't have to wait moving again 10 gigabytes or 50 gigabytes. It doesn't matter how big is your project. It's just instant. A second until all the data is already there, actually, and the actual renderer is starting. So it's really, really exciting. I'm using that system every single day, and every single day is wow. I mean, it's working. Yeah, I talked about the one-click. Actually, we're gonna have that offering in most of our products. So it will be a one-click. Smart Sync is something that we're still working on, but we have really, really nice things to show, and you can use it even today. And also, one of the things that are really important for us was about control and remote control and remote view of everything that you're doing. So you can submit your job, start rendering something, you can go home, right? And you can just open your mobile phone, see what are the results. You can pause, you can cancel, you can do almost everything just from your device. You don't need a powerful laptop or a powerful workstation from your desktop. And this service right now is in early access program, so you can subscribe to that service and test it. You can go to chaosgroup.com/cloud. We plan to have that in a broader, or let's say public beta, somewhere in Q3, and hopefully when it is done and it's reliable enough, it will be in general availability so everyone can use it. Okay? And now, because I'm running out of time, I believe, totally, let's show you something from the future. Just a little bit. We designed and actually implemented those 3 demos last 10 days. Kudos for the team that was involved, especially the AC guys, the SketchUp guys. Konstantin is here, Michael Stanchev, the entire cloud team. They did great work, and I'm very excited to show you some of the things that we've been working. One of the things, actually, the first demo is about, you're doing your design. For example, you're modeling a house. You want to present that to your client. And usually, when you're finished with the design, it's kind of, even today, it's quite hard. It takes a lot of time to create a nice, good-looking picture with, the right environment settings, with the right HDR, with the sun or something else. This is where actually, what is V-Ray all about and rendering all about, to present high fidelity pictures. And then 10 days ago, we sit down and say, okay, can we make it simpler? Can this process from hours of, just browsing and, trying different, can we just make it in a way that you point your mouse somewhere and you click? And this is what I'm going to show you. Of course, with the power of the cloud. So this is my model in SketchUp. And I'll be rendering it out on my machine. As you can see, there is no light, there is no environment settings. And I press this button, which is awesome, right? And I can't show that on the right side. All the data goes to the cloud. We're gonna render like hundreds or even more thumbnails with different HDRs, materials that are already in the cloud with different settings for you. So the only thing that you have to do is just click on the thing that you like. Right? Thank you. And then you click on the thumbnail, and we're gonna move all the settings down to your workstation. It will be applied on your current rendering, right? And you can instantly see actually what you're doing and how you're doing it. That was awesome. I'm so excited. And imagine what else we can do on top of that, right? Putting machine learning, putting the power of the cloud on your fingertips. That is what it's all about. Simplicity. And you guys can do more, way more, right? Don't waste your time on something that we can help you with. Then the next video is something that actually I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. But here comes the bridge between the cloud and your desktop. So during our brainstorm about the presentations and demos here, we decided, okay, can we do something really crazy? I mean, like, I want to use my SketchUp or whatever tool, DCC, it could be 3D Studio Max, of course. But I don't have the compute power right now. I'm on laptop or my workstation is kind of oldish. Okay, so what can we do? With our partners from Google Cloud and partners from NVIDIA, I'm going to show you a demo that the same thing, and I'm going to play it actually, the same scene with the same settings. I'm sending all the data and connect it to live stream to 8 V100 GPUs in Google Cloud. That's hardware worth more than $50,000, and you can have it in your workstation. And you can continue to use your lovely tools, but the actual rendering is happening in the cloud. That is, again, what it's all about, moving the compute power from the cloud to your monitor. And by the way, those videos are recorded yesterday, 8 p.m. So it's definitely live. I mean, it's like, that's 120 teraflops of compute power, 8 V100 available in the cloud. On top of course, V-Ray Cloud, we have the NVIDIA GPUs, and then we have the network infrastructure and everything, and virtualization of Google Cloud. The three worlds combined in your hands. And my last one for today will be something that we've been looking forward for many years. You know, rendering is always slow, even with a lot of compute that you have. And when you want to not submit, but you want to present your final image, and you're running out of time, totally out of time. Like, yeah, I have to do that in like a minute. My client is knocking on the door, right? So I have to show that. What you gonna do? Of course, you're gonna go to V-Ray Cloud or Chaos Cloud, and everything that you did before, with a single press of a button, can be rendered not instantly, but quite fast. And I'll show you something right now. During our first beta, or let's say alpha stage, some of our users of the cloud infrastructure were like, oh, awesome. It's super fast, but some of them were like, oh, it's rendering like the way I'm having that crazy machine here. I spent like, $10,000, $20,000. The cloud is almost the same. And I have one message to those guys. You ain't seen nothing yet. These are 7,000 cores rendering at the same time to deliver as fast as possible the high fidelity picture they want to present, right? In 2 minutes. In QHD. Awesome scalability. One click. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Boris.
Thank you.
Exciting times. Just before we started, we were talking with Martin from IKEA that the way the computer graphics industry is going to change within the next 10 years is going to be more significant than it did in the last 100 years. And we want all of us here to be part of this process. We need demanding customers and partners so that we can deliver better technologies, hardware, software, infrastructure, everything put together with a single click. Okay, so what's next? Well, first of all, this is kind of the end of our keynote, and I would like to give you a few points. We will need to free up this room because we're going to revamp it and we're going to build 2 different rooms for us to enjoy the sessions. So there'll be a coffee break now. And make sure that all of you go outside because we need to rearrange the room. Next, please wait. It's really important that we visit as many sessions as possible because we put a lot of effort. All of these teams from all the other kind of our partners helped us to build these sessions. So please make sure you visit them. After the show, we will want your feedback at one point to let us know what we can improve. And please bear in mind that this was made possible with the help of our partners and our sponsors, and I really want to thank them a lot at this point, so please give them applause. They made this possible. And now I would like to thank the speakers because they've been great, and I'm sure they're really excited to share even more knowledge with you in the following couple of days. So let's thank our speakers. So let's have the coffee break and off we go. Thank you.